You're no longer our responsibility. Go figure your life out, my father muttered, tossing my wallet onto the icy driveway like it was trash. I was still in my pajamas. No coat. No shoes. My mother crossed her arms at the doorway, her lips thin with contempt. You wanted independence. There you go. Hi everyone, my name is Marielle Connors, and 2 weeks ago, I believed my parents loved me. Today, I know they just loved control. I had just turned 24. I'd quit my part-time job to finish my final semester with honors, trusting them when they said, "We'll support you. Just graduate strong." I had 3 weeks left when they pulled the rug. I remember walking down the frozen sidewalk, wallet in hand, $17 and a student ID.
My toes went numb fast.
But somehow I didn't cry. I don't know if I was too cold or already too broken. A stranger in a blue truck pulled over. You okay? No, I said honestly. He gave me a ride. That ride changed everything. 5 days later, I had a warm bed.
A job.
A little guest house. Quiet peace. I didn't tell anyone where I went until they found me, and what they saw at the gate made my father take a step back. My mother stood frozen on the sidewalk, staring at the small garden of roses that wrapped around the gatepost. My father's mouth hung open, not in awe, in confusion. They expected a moldy basement, a rundown shelter, something pathetic. Instead, they saw a tidy cream-colored guest house with a tiled walkway, string lights glowing softly across a small porch, and my name, Marielle Connors, etched on the mailbox. The truck from earlier was parked neatly in the drive. I saw them from the kitchen window. They hadn't even knocked yet, but I could feel the storm they were about to bring. That blue truck belonged to a kind man named Graham. He ran a local woodworking shop and offered me work the day I walked in with frostbitten toes and zero experience. He didn't ask for credentials. He said I looked like someone who'd been burned, but still had fight in her eyes. I earned every dollar. Now they wanted to know how. Why I hadn't begged. Why I wasn't broken. Why I hadn't come crawling home like they planned. They wanted me back under their thumb. But I smiled and poured tea. Because I'd already prepared what I was going to say when they knocked. 3 slow knocks echoed through the quiet afternoon. I didn't rush to the door. I let them wait. When I finally opened it, my mother's eyes darted past me, scanning the house like she owned it. My father stood stiff, holding a sad little envelope, like peace could be bought in 6 inches of paper. So, this is where you've been hiding, my mother said, her lips pursed, tone sharp like she was disappointed I wasn't dead in a ditch. I leaned against the frame, calm. Not hiding. Living. She scoffed. You could have called. You blocked my number, I said simply. Dad shifted. We were worried. You're still our daughter. I looked at the envelope in his hand. Is that supposed to make up for kicking me out barefoot in December? Silence. My mother cleared her throat. We thought you needed a wake-up call. Some humility. Maybe you'd come back more grateful. Grateful? They stripped me of everything, then expected a thank you. I didn't argue. I didn't cry.
I didn't invite them in.
I said, you should leave. They weren't used to hearing that from me. Especially not with steady hands and warm lights glowing behind me. But this time, I had no intention of folding. The next day, my sister showed up. With a smug smile and oversized sunglasses, she didn't even bother pretending. So, you're playing house in this place?
Cute.
But Mom said you'd come to your senses soon. She strolled into the yard like she still had access to my life, brushing her perfectly manicured nails across the patio table. Look, let's not make this harder. Mom and Dad are ready to welcome you back. We'll forget the whole barefoot drama. I tilted my head. You think this is temporary? She blinked, confused. Isn't it? I opened the sliding door behind me, letting her see the furnished living room, the new rug, the baby photos on the wall, the documents laid out on the desk.
Deeds.
My name on everything. She froze. You're not renting? She asked quietly.
No.
Her mouth opened.
Closed.
But how did you afford? Because while you all were busy blocking my cards and betting on my failure, I said, stepping toward her, I was busy building something. Quietly. Legally. Permanently. She looked around again, this time with panic. You should leave, I added. Next time you come uninvited, the gate won't open. She turned and left. No words, no parting shot. And for once, it was her heels echoing on the sidewalk, not mine. 3 days passed. I was settling into a rhythm. Slow mornings, sunlight through wide windows, laughter from my son in the other room. The peace was unfamiliar and addictive. Then came the knock at the gate. It wasn't loud, just 2 measured taps, but I felt it in my chest. I stepped outside and froze. My father, wearing his old church coat, face unreadable, eyes squinting in the morning glare. For a moment, we just stared at each other. I was in the neighborhood, he said, glancing away. Thought I'd check if you were alive. I smiled politely. Alive, yes. Happy, actually. He nodded slowly, then pulled something from his coat, a small envelope. Your health insurance card came in the mail. Thought you might still need it. I took it silently, heart pounding. A test. He hesitated, then added, Your mother's not proud of how it all went down. She blocked my cards, Dad. He flinched. She was scared. Thought tough love might fix things. Tough love. I repeated. Or control. A pause. Then, softer. I didn't come to fight. I studied him. For the first time in years. He didn't look like the man who towered over me, just someone trying to piece together what he'd broken. But I didn't let him in. Not yet. The very next evening, I received a message that made my hands go cold. Is it true you're using our family name to apply for government assistance? It was from my mother. I stared at the screen in disbelief. I wasn't on any assistance. I didn't need to be. But that wasn't the point. The point was, they were watching me. I scrolled further. More texts followed. Accusations. Backhanded concern. Even thinly veiled threats. My mother claimed she had ways of finding out things, that neighbors talk, that the family has a reputation to protect. But the one that broke me said, You think that house makes you safe? Blood still owns you. I sat there for a long time, staring at that line. Then I picked up my phone, called a lawyer, and asked for an emergency appointment. The next day, I filed to change my last name. Officially, legally, completely. When the papers were processed, and I held that stamped certificate in my hand, something inside me broke free. It was more than a name. It was severance. It was rebirth. Later that week, I sent them one photo. Me holding the certificate, smiling. No caption. They replied with silence. And I knew they felt it. The final line had been drawn. 2 days later, my security camera notified me of movement at the gate. I opened the feed, and there they were. My mother, my father, my sister, standing like ghosts on the edge of my peace. No one pressed the buzzer. They just stood. After 10 minutes, my mother approached the gate and whispered something I couldn't hear, but her expression was desperate, not proud. Then my sister stepped forward, clutching a paper bag and a child on her hip. She held the bag up toward the camera, mouthing, Please. I zoomed in. Inside was a handwritten letter. They knew I wouldn't let them in, but they hoped I'd read it. The letter was slipped under the gate when they finally gave up and left. I waited an hour before opening it. It wasn't an apology. It was a plea. My father had been laid off. My sister's husband left. They'd sold their house to cover debts, and heard I was doing well. The final line read, We know we made mistakes, but family helps each other. You can't really mean to cut us out. I placed the letter back in the bag, sealed it, and mailed it to their new rental address unopened. Inside, I added one thing. A mirror. The mirror shattered in transit. They sent a photo of the pieces scattered on their cheap rental floor, as if that would guilt me. But I never replied. I didn't need to. My silence said everything. For the first time in their lives, they were forced to sit with themselves, not who they pretended to be, not who they demanded I see, but the raw, ugly truth. That mirror wasn't broken by accident. It broke because it reflected exactly who they were. And they couldn't bear to face it. Weeks passed. They tried again. Messages. Calls. even showing up outside my gate, claiming they missed me. That families should stick together. That they didn't mean everything. I didn't budge. I was no longer barefoot, broke, and begging. I had built a life on the very ashes they tried to burn me with. The difference? I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace, and they weren't part of it. So I gave them nothing. Not hate, not love, not help, just distance. And that, ironically, was the cruelest thing I could have done, because it forced them to do the one thing they